All right, we are back. And my brother says I need to have more energy. So I'm going to bring it today, man.
Bro, you sound always like you couldn't care less, and you have this long pauses for no damn reason. Always like just
Because
like distracted,
my
you
mind
know.
is like,
Yeah,
10 steps ahead.
I'm
So
bringing the fire, and
I'm
you're
trying to
like,
make, I'm trying to make
yeah,
sure that you catch up.
yeah. I lost us two
Um,
subscribers last video. I'm so proud of my rant.
yeah, yeah. We're,
Yeah,
we're building the
but
channel.
the Leaf fans, the two of you who are probably still on here, I see you. I see you.
Well, no fan base wants to get, crapped on regardless of how right it is. But
I disagree. I'm not gonna go on another rant. This is the whole point of the show. Looking at your team with a critical eye means you're a real fan. Again, the Panthers eventually are going to make mistakes. They're going to lose. You're going to hear me rant about the Panthers, about Cito, about Maurice, about the players. I did before, we started the channel or whatever. So anyway, just trying to say, like, just we're trying to be real about this stuff. It's not like just be rah fan and like make fun of the other team, bro. So anyway, they just, you come here for the content, for criticism. We don't have to agree. Just, don't come at us with silly stuff, bro.
yeah, that's a good way of explaining it. All right, well, today we're going to do some power rankings. We'll do all 32 teams. My brother has the list, and I don't know what order he wants to do it or how he wants to go about it, but he'll go through the list and I'll sort of break it down by division as he goes along, where I think some of those teams might finish in the division. But we'll just have fun with it. And go from there. And then stay tuned for the next episode. We'll break down the Alex Nylander signing for the Leafs, and the excitement around around that. So stay tuned for the next one as well. All right, man. How you want to break it down? Let's get to it.
No, I'm going bottom to top, man. That's how lists work. That's how you build up the excitement. So yeah, there might be some obvious picks. There might be some surprising picks in the order for me here, but I try to be just so you know, I'm not going to explain every pick. I mean, I am going to contextualize it. I'm not explain why it's a certain order. All I'll say is that I'm looking at power rankings from both in terms of the roster, the projections, where they might finish, and the context of where the teams finished last year, the whole thing, but also just kind of a feel of like, trying to go a little bit against what we always take for granted. And so there'll be, again, a few surprising picks. And I'll try to explain why. To start with the last one, I was trying to be a hipster and not have the Sharks be the bottom team. But I looked at the roster.
Yeah, they're the worst team for sure.
Oh my God, bro. I don't know. Are they the new Panthers? Are they like a tax write-off? I mean, they used to be a good team.
Not really. The Panthers at least had a couple players you could like.
No, I know. But the Panthers, and the Panthers weren't always like bottom of the league. But the Sharks are like, you said it last time. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what the rebuild looks like. They're not. There's no rhyme or reason there. I'm not seeing like the combination of draft picks and veteran players and like the way that the team is trying to build something. There's no like strong foundation that I can see. It still looks like that team's going to take forever to get to a competitive stage. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe some other young guys will take off. Eventually, some of them do. But anyway, just looking at the roster, the Sharks are just kind of a joke, kind of almost like not a serious team at this point. So it's just impossible not to put them at the bottom. You have to be kind of ridiculous not to have them there, in my opinion. But yeah, just sorry, guys, Sharks fans that don't, listen to this. Your roster sucks. That was my note.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think you have disagreement with that.
No.
Next for me, the Blue Jackets. And you know why?
Yeah.
I know the roster is like the forwards roster is decent. They've got some names. Their top three lines are okay, generally speaking. But I just gotta say, the goaltending is not good. Mitch Leakins is like their starter. They're very thin on defense right now. There's the Patrick Laine drama. I know that they have a new coach. I know Dean Evison is there now, and he's known as like motivating guys and tough and all that. I just don't buy it. I think the team just needs to fully tank. And, they have Fantilli, but they really need to fully tank and really start to build up again. They've made some really bad trades. They've brought in some back signings. They didn't develop Peak or Boquist. They didn't invest on their young defense. The old coach, pissed off a bunch of the young players. They might need to correct that because they were playing veterans for no reason, even though they were stinking. I'm just done with the Blue Jackets. I just think that they just need to fully tank, become the Ducks, become whatever the Chicago Blackhawks, and just completely and fully rebuild. But I think for me, they're trending down versus trending up. So I have them at 31st.
Yeah, that makes sense. Next.
No disagreement. All right. Again, another team that I wanted to move up, but I just can't. It's the Ducks.
They're too young.
They're too young. You look at their lines. Their top three lines are filled with young guys, and also their defense. Brian Dumoulin and Radko Gudas are like in their top four. They just don't have very good defense at all. The Gibson and those style like question marks. They can have really good games and really bad games. I don't know that their goaltending is necessarily reliable. Again, young talent. They're kind of hotheads too, and divas and Seacrest and McTavish. They could be a little bit dirty, and I just don't see a clear direction. I think that there's a lot of flash, but I don't see and I think that there are issues with the coach. I think some of the players don't like the coach. So I don't see them like this year necessarily bouncing back. I think they need more time, maybe a coaching change, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think they have 2, maybe 3 really good young players. McTavish, of course, I think he's going to be really good. I like that he's a little feisty, a little dirty. It is what it is. And the other guy there, Leo Carlson.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of potential there.
Yeah.
And they did get the guy from the Flyers, right? Gauthier.
Yeah, Karagoshia or whatever. Yeah, which is a whole dramatic whatever thing.
But, he's a big guy. He might work out for them.
He's good.
Then, it's
again,
kind of
but they don't have the foundation. They don't have like those veteran leaders to really.
No, the veterans. The veterans they have is Killorn and like.
Yeah, and Gudas and Gudas, who's just cashing in at this point before he retires. So anyway, I have them toward the bottom again. This area, you try to be a hater and put another team there, but no. And next, the Blackhawks for me, 29th. The additions are fine. Yeah, I have them 29th, man. The additions are fine, but I think they're overrated. I think TJ Brody and Martinez are washed. I don't think those additions are going to change anything on defense. Kurchinski, like whatever, he's a young guy, turns it over a lot. He still needs a lot of time to grow. He's not a very physical guy. Seth Jones still your number one option on defense. I think that gets overlooked a lot. The goalies and the defense are meh. And I just think a lot of the veterans that got signed there know that the team is not going to contend. And again, I told you last year with Taylor Hall, these veterans, the minute they got any kind of injury, they're going to take time off. They're going to catch in. They're not going to put their bodies out there for a team that isn't going to win. And it's all about Bedard right now. That's also an issue with the star player. You need him to develop. He's going to give you points, but he's not going to be this guy who like takes over games every night physically or whatever. So I just don't buy it. Maybe I'm wrong. And I know that last year they had their moments, but toward the end of the season, they had some stretches where they were completely awful, like losing 5-1, So yeah, I just don't buy Chicago. It's there anywhere near there. I think the signings are overrated. I just don't see Bertuzzi and some of these guys making as big of a difference as people think. And I think the defense is not good.
Yeah, I think they're definitely better than last season. But yeah, I don't disagree. And the plan is just to have Bedard develop. And to me, Bedard has a ceiling. I don't think he's Crosby or Ovechkin, and I don't think that hype should ever reach those levels in terms of just overall leadership and on ice IQ. I think he's just a very talented, top line guy. But he's small. So yeah, they definitely improve. I can't disagree, even though I don't know if they should be that low, but yeah.
Yeah, well, you have to think about what teams you put below them, right? This next thing for me, the Flames, 28th. It's a solid roster. but it's a transition year for them. They're kind of retooling slash rebuilding. They've lost a lot of talent. The coach looks like a math professor. I'm just not sold on the team. I don't know that the coach is very tough. I think that they're going to focus more on developing a couple of players and trying to get Huberto back on track. I think that's going to be the goal for this year. I don't even know that they're going to keep Uyghur long term with that contract and his age. I think he's a guy that at the deadline, if there's thinking, I could see trying to get values for some of the veterans if they commit to the rebuild. So I just don't see that team like latter part of the year competing. I see them actually like selling at the deadline to try to accumulate, draft capital and prospects and stuff like that. And so I think that they're going to probably tank at some point. So I just think the Flames is just kind of that weird transition year. It's kind of, just commit to the whole, like, we got to redo this.
Yeah, I think they waited maybe too long last season. They thought they had something, and they should have traded Markstrom and to the Devils, and a lot of that stuff should have happened for them to then like transition the next year. Like just to try to be like a French playoff team makes no sense. If you feel like you should be better than that, so.
Yeah, and I'm not a huge fan of the GM. I don't know. He's always said that, like, he wants his players to play offensive and flashy and blah, 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 and make it fun. I don't know. I just don't like his philosophy. So, yeah, the team I have it 28th toward the bottom. So those are the bottom 5 teams of the league. I think from there on, these are teams that, like, could compete, surprise you.
Yeah,
make me look silly. But
agreed.
This is where I get more subjective with my picks. 27th, the Blues, man. I'm done with the Blues. I think they're overrated. I think that the defense is very weak. I think that's a team I'm done with. I think they're going to sell Vucinovic at some point. I just think that everybody thinks like maybe they could make it last year. Maybe they could become a playoff team this year. Maybe that's a team that can get the 8th spot. I'm just going to sell the Blues. I think they're trending down. I think they're going to sell at the deadline. I don't think that roster. I don't think Kyrou is a leader. I think he showed it when this guy got fired, Berube got fired. I think that roster is off. I think the team won their cup. They need to rebuild. They need to move on. And they're probably not. And that's why I think they're going to trend down. I think they're going to try to. And they also don't have a lot of great contracts. Some of their contracts may not be easy to move. And I still think that Vucinovic is just going to get moved. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know the team that just kind of like, they got a nice little truck in 2019 and they just rode that to death. That transmission just can't take it anymore. It's kind of, it's another team that's kind of been sort of the same the last few years, and not sure what the plan there was. It's funny. So many teams that kind of do this thing where they just kind of stay around.
Yeah, I think it's because their cup run was surprising. I think it caught them off guard, and I think it kind of threw them off. And so they try to they move them from some of the veterans and try to sell, and then they try to keep some of the younger guys and go into the next generation with Kyrou and some of these other guys, and just haven't been the same level of leadership as O'Reilly and Pietrangelo and all that. So yeah, just rebuild, retool. Commit to a change. Your team doesn't work. Your team isn't going to really win a championship with the main guys you have. So, stop getting, the number 15th or 20th pick in the draft, or even 12th, try to go for like a top 5 pick. So, yeah, I think the Blues 27th. And now 26th, my first, not hater pick, because it's not a hater pick. It's just I am down on this team, is the Sabres, man. They were in the bubble last year. Everybody still thinks that the young guys are going to come through. But you look at the roster, I just think that the Sabres are overrated. And I think that the defense, defensively speaking, is really weak, actually, when you look at their lines. You have Peterka, Thompson, Alex Tuck, whatever they had down years last year. But then you have Dylan Cousins. You have Jason Zucker now. Terrible signing, in my opinion. Sorry, I think Zucker's overrated. He's just a pure scorer, 20-goal guy, older. He's like a journeyman who just tries to get paid. I know that he was in Pittsburgh, whatever, but I think he's a guy that is like your 7th, 8th best forward. And then they have Zach Benson, who's still very young. Ryan McLeod was a signing that I really liked, but then you have Greenway, McLeod on your 3rd line projected. Those are 4th line guys, in my opinion, in a really serious contending team. Greenway I like, but he's not a third line player, in my opinion. I know he can score and stuff, but I just think he plays more like a fourth liner. McLeod was a fourth liner a lot of the time with the Oilers. And Benson is still very young. He's a small guy. I like Lafferty on the fourth line, but I just don't. I think the forwards are okay. Like it's a okay team that can win you 50% of the games, and then the defense, a lot of young talent. Bill Byram and Dahlin and Power and Yogi Haru. Connor Clifton is on the third pairing. None of those guys can defend well, in my opinion. I don't think none of the guys are really known as being really good defenders. They're all very offensive first. Like the balance for the team is off. And I love Skinner, who I know had it down here. I just think that they're actually trending down, and Pekka or whatever, and Levi, like they have to see what these guys are going to give them. But they were terrible on defense last year. I don't think people realize how bad defensively they were. And I just don't see that changing. I think they're going to score, 3-4 goals and then allow 5. That's the kind of team they're going to continue to be. And I see them trending down. If they had a couple of injuries, either on the forward court or a couple of defensemen, that gets thin pretty quick. And they don't have a lot of that veteran leadership that you need, in my opinion. So anyway, I'm just not sold at this point. I think they had that year that they were trending up. I think that was a mirage. There's another team that I'll talk about that I think is similar, maybe at a higher tier. But I think they kind of show a flash in a way that they probably didn't really capture that the team wasn't as good. I think they scored a ton of goals, but defensively they're not good. So I just don't see them competing. And I don't think I think in the playoffs they would get destroyed.
Yeah, they're not ready, and they've also had kind of the same vibes, right, for the past few years. And Tage Thompson is 26 now. They don't really have an identity whatsoever. It's kind of like you said with the defensemen, they sort of go for the offense, but they're also not like this great offense team. So it's kind of a weird. That's another team that's kind of stuck in limbo, in my opinion. They need to figure it out.
And what are you doing, man? I mean, that was my comment I had on my notes. Like, what are you doing? Like Jason Zucker, that's all you could do, Is that the best you could do? I'd rather you bring in some like peripheral veteran guys to fill out the roster a little bit more. And again, McLeod, it's a good player. Lafferty's a good player down the middle for your bottom 6, but they need more leadership to win. So anyway, I think that for me, Sabres are 25th, Canadians. Inconsistent youth is sort of the way that I think about that team. It's just the team is very inconsistent. They're very small. They're feisty. They can win some games. They can go on little runs. I just don't see them sustaining that like over a long time. So I don't know. Some people see them trending up. I still think that they're gonna still be kind of toward the bottom. And I need to see more from their young guys, from Suzuki and Caulfield. Slavkovsky just got the big contract. Is Newhook like a legit number 2 center? I don't know. They still have Brendan Gallagher as like one of their main guys. Kirby Dog hasn't taken off. I don't know. I'm just not sold,
Yeah. I mean, if the power rankings were based on how passionate the fans are, they'd be like top 5. They're still young. I don't know what they thought about doing once they went to the finals in the bubble year. But that's another team. It's kind of the same. And so far the rankings have been really good in terms of, those bottom 4 teams are pretty bad. And then you get into Calgary, Sabres, and now Montreal, which are kind of on the same boat where you don't really know or see where it's going. It's just some talented young guys, or they have a couple of pieces, but they're kind of lost a little bit.
They got to show you something, Next for me, and this pick is more a reaction to the way that they acted this offseason, is the Flyers. They stay pat. They're going to fight, but they have a lot of deficiencies. And I think last year they overachieved. They have that towards like, bump, but I think that wears out. I think there was already drama with the team. I know they have, Mishkov coming in or whatever, like they have some like excitement, but I just don't see it with them. I think that they have too many young guys. And I actually now, I'm not getting into it, but I am a huge fan of what's his name, the Flyers player. I'm
Connecting.
blanking. Konechny. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Konechny, and I told you last year that does look like a Panthers type of player because of his feistiness and in scoring. I think they overpaid for him. I look at it. I mean, he's getting paid more than Reinhardt. The dude has never scored more than 33 goals or 70 points, I think, in a season. He's been injured in the past. He's already 27. He's a leader, but he's kind of a small guy. I just don't know if it's going to be more than like Brendan Hagel. Like, is he going to be more than that? And Brent Hagel's making 6.5. I think, to me, Konechny is like at most like a $7 million player for your like second line, or if you have like a really top end, like, sneak in like Barkov with, a guy like Konechny next to him, that would make sense. But I just don't know that 7.5 it's the right number, even though the cap's going up. I think they might have overpaid, and that might make it a little bit more difficult to move him down the line. So yeah, Flyers for me. I think the fact that they stay pat, that they didn't really commit, I guess they're staying the course, they're being patient, they know they're on a rebuild. I think they might kind of bump down a little bit this year to 24.
Yeah, I have to think that with the hiring of Torts, maybe the plan was to kind of build a strong, feisty team, and Konechny, the extension makes sense. Obviously, it's a lot of money, but keeping a guy like that makes sense, and maybe they had to overpay a little bit to keep him around. The Tippett, contract is a good one. Again, young guys, mostly in their 20s. And yeah, I guess they're keeping up on the trajectory. I probably would have had them a little bit higher, but I'm not sure who I would trade them with. Maybe the Islanders or the Penguins. But yeah, I think they were pretty good last year, the Flyers, and they kind of just stumble at the end due to their age and inexperience and everything that was happening with Torts. And
yeah, I think they'll fight, but I think there'll be more drama with the coach this year, and I could see that derailing things a bit.
Yeah.
Then 23rd, I have the Wild, the epitome of mediocrity in the NHL. I think they have cap issues. It's obvious. They have slowly trended down, and I think that they, in some ways, I don't know what they're doing. They're kind of stuck in limbo between, like, can they find a way to bounce back, or maybe getting off the cap issues. I think next year they're going to have finally like some flexibility. But they're a really good defensive team. They have some talent. I think that can hide a lot. They have a little bit of player experience. They have good defensive systems there, and to me, I give more value to that because I actually think that can hide quite a bit. But still, I have them trending slightly down. I don't have them competing for a playoff spot. So 23rd is the Wild.
Yeah, I probably would have had the Flyers ahead of them, because I just don't like that team. Yeah, they have Kaprizov. They have the young talent as well, and they just extended Faber, right?
Yeah,
they just signed Brock Faber to 8 years, so pretty high, 8.5. But you're hoping that in 3-4 years, that's a really good deal. But yeah, I don't have much to say about the Wild.
Yeah, wow. Then 22nd, I have the Penguins. And I was sort of considering, can they bounce back? Can the Carswell thing finally work? Can the power play not be as atrocious as it was? It's probably going to bounce back a little bit. But I also then realized they're old, man, and they're trending down. And they were kind of healthy last year again for the second year in a row, and they still couldn't make the playoffs the last 2 years. And anyone or Latano, Malkin's already starting to show signs of being washed. And I think, Crosby eventually is going to have injuries, and, Latan too. And they're getting up there. I don't think Bunting, it's like a difference maker. Carlson also, it's not a good defender at all. So I just don't see that team. I think they need to just accept it. And I think Duas knows it. I think they're working on the, Crosby's extension. I think it's more about his retirement tour or whatever than it's going to be about contending. I think they have to say that, but I think they're done, man. So Penguins 22nd for me.
Yeah, the main core is very old. Between Carlson and Crosby, Letang, they're past 34, 35. So I don't
Yeah, and they brought in Bobillier. I'm not sold. Kevin Hayes, not sold. Bunting and Drew O'Connor maybe competing for a
No,
top
and
six.
they played very hard last season. Watched a lot of Penguin games.
Yeah,
and they play hard. They battle hard, no, but they just don't have the speed. They don't have the energy. Like there's no way. But by game 82, they're not gonna be able. Even if they sneak in the playoffs, they're gonna lose in the first round.
And I think Grant Graves is the prototypical overrated signing by Dubas. Bad signing. I think he was the wrong guy to get. He's not as good offensively or as good defensively. He's kind of meh for his size, especially. And then you have Mike Grisslick, who, it's not couldn't crack the top four all the time with the Bruins, I think. And anyway, the defensive core is not super strong. So yeah, that's where I'm at with the Penguins, man. Whatever people, want to love it or hate it, but they're meh. 21st, and I'm being generous here. Some people have them really, really down, but I'm still a believer as the Senators on 21st. I think they need to prove themselves, same as the Canadians. With a new coach coming in, I don't know much about Travis Green as a coach. I don't know if it's going to make a difference, but I would have gone with somebody more veteran, and I do think that probably wanted Berube and got a guy like that. But they need to work on their defense. I mean, that's the main thing. They have a strong roster. They got a good, legit goalie finally. I'm hoping they can bounce back. They can finally take off, but it feels like they need the leadership. They need the coaches to get them to play defense, to get them to have an identity and structure. They're tough. They're skilled. They should be better than they are. It's just that they just don't defend, man. We saw when we saw them last year, man. The defense is just terrible. So
yeah, they give up a lot of
like dumb goals,
chances.
like really, and they couldn't hold on to leads and stuff.
Yeah, they have it. I think they have a decent roster. I think they have a wild card playoff roster. Most of the team is fairly big. They fight. They have a lot of pesky guys, but yeah, man, I really like them. I like the Senators. I've always had, but there's always something missing there. Maybe it was the coaching. So let's see how that goes.
Yeah, and they got Noah Gregor now, so that would be interesting.
Maple Leaf superstar. Yeah,
exactly. All right, so next I have 20th, the Islanders, and I'm being generous just because they do have names, they have veterans, they always find a way. They have Sorokin. But my one comment for the Islanders was like boring. They are like the most boring team in the league. I know they added Duclair, which is kind of an interesting.
The Islanders are like the most like average team. When you watch them play, it's like an average team that either is gonna give you a good period and win the game, or it's gonna give you a whatever period and lose the game. They're just kind of there. Like
they're the wild days, man.
There's nothing that stands out. Like there's no one that like really pops out, or like, oh my god, the defense is great, or oh, the goaltender is really good, or oh, this one guy can really shoot. Yeah, it's the vibes that you get. Obviously, we're not Islander fans, so we don't know more in depth stuff. But yeah, the eye test is weird. It's weird.
And they haven't done anything to really merit like more respect.
Patrick Roy, man, the greatest coach ever.
That's also gonna get old fast. All right, 19th, Red Wings. I am not as high on them as other people are. I think that it moves much like the Blackhawks are overrated. I think the teams is kind of scattered. It's mostly offense. I think Lalonde is in the hot seat. Bringing back Kane, I don't know that that's a difference maker. I don't know what Iserman's doing. I am confused by the way that the team is being handled. I know Lucas Raymond is good. I know Larkin is good. Obviously, the Brinket can score. Your top line is legit in terms of scoring. Your Confer is decent. I think you have Kane and Tarasenko. They're not going to defend. Andrew Kopp and Rasmussen and Bergeron. Bergeron is decent. I like him. But again, it's just, it's just a mad team, man. And then you have Chara and Sider, Petrie, Gustafsson, Olimata. Like, your defense is not that great. And I think now they have like 20 goalies, but still is Talbot and Lyon and like all these guys. Like, I don't know who's going to be the goalie.
They have like 5 goalies in the roster.
And they're all kind of mediocre.
Alex Lyon is super
Career AHLer,
overrated.
bro.
Super
This is, talk
overrated.
about a bump from the Panthers, you know?
Dude, like he would have like 3, 4, 5 game stretches. Like he gave us that 6 game stretch to get us into the playoffs, and then like he got benched after like the second game. It's
Because he
just
gave
so
off soft
overrated.
goals. Yeah.
So
And
overrated.
he's a
Well,
small guy.
they have Jack Campbell, you know,
Yeah, I know. The
greatest goalie
reclamation,
ever.
but that's what I mean. Why? Why Campbell? Like, go after like
Hold
an
on, don't they have Talbot too?
yeah, Cam Talbot and like yeah, I don't know. Iserman's some of these guys, I don't know what they're doing. Anyway,
Yeah, Iserman and Shanahan, you know.
Red Wings, I think overrated off season. I think they're trending down. I think overachieved a little bit.
Well, they did get Tarasenko, man.
Yeah, again, it's like Kane. Don't in that system, he's not going to defend. Lalonde's going to get fired this season. Watch. All right, 18th, and I'm being generous. I'm being generous because that's a team. This is a team I consider dropping into my 20s. Is the Kings? They're also trending down. They're getting old and stiff, and I think Rob Blake might need to go. I think he's last few off seasons and just in general moves has been pretty bad. Gave away young talent for Dubois, didn't work out. The team's getting older. The players aren't happy. They're just known for defense. They've been owned by the Oilers 3 seasons in a row in the playoffs in the first round. Like get a grip, you know, like just either blow it up or make some moves, man. Like and not don't give away your own talent for a guy like Dubois, who's a really like wild card. Desperate move for a center, I think. So yeah, I think the Kings are trending down. And I'm being generous because of their history, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I believe since they won the Stanley Cup, what was it, 2014? They haven't won a playoff round since the last cup win. Just one of those teams that's not consistent enough. It's kind of was always there hanging around because you know they had good veteran leadership and an identity, but yeah, that's another team that's yeah, it is being generous. I think they're trending down.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, I have them there. All right, 17 Kraken just outside the playoffs. I think they're feisty. I think their additions are interesting. I think some people try to poo-poo some of the additions. To me, they're kind of a bubble team. I think that they trended like last season. They had a kind of a down moment, but I think they're a forechecking team. I like some other players. I think that they're underrated as a team. I think I just like their forechecking style, and you know, Beniers is going to continue to develop. They have McCann and Everly. I like Chandler Stevenson's as an addition. Burakovsky, Schwartz, you know, Tolvanen. I told you Tolvanen is one of my favorite players. Yanni Gourde it's a hell of a player. You know, they have a good fourth line. You know, the defense is sort of the question, but I think adding Montour to the top 4 with Adam Lassner and Vince Dunn, Will Borgen still there, like pretty good, man. I just know that they're gonna compete. They're not, you know, they're kind of maybe that bubble or wild card team, but I don't think they're going to be as bad as people think. And I think Grubauer and Decord can give them enough goaltending. So
yeah, the West is so tough, and I think the Kraken, you know, overachieved a couple of years ago in the playoffs, and that's yeah.
Yeah, but I'll say this about them: people like to me, the Kings overachieved in the regular season. The Flyers overachieved in the regular season. The Sabres overachieved in the regular season a couple of years ago. I'm talking about in last year for some of these teams. What I like about the Kraken that to me makes them legit is that they overachieved by beating Colorado in 7 games and then taking Dallas to 7 games and like competing in the playoffs. To me, that it's more of a team that I'm willing to see that it can have the right identity to bounce back than a team like went off on offense or had a kind of an up year until you prove it to me in the playoffs. And again, I have playoff bias, but I don't buy that the team is as good. So I just think the Kraken have a stronger baseline. You know, maybe not as high ceiling as some of the other teams, but I think their floor is higher.
So. Yeah, they'll need like a 20-point improvement to make the playoffs this season. The West is just stacked, and I know it falls off right after the 8th team, which could be them because they'll be.
That's where I have them. I have them just outside the playoffs.
They'll be competing with the Wild and the Flames for a spot, I believe, for that last wild card, but. It'll be they'll have to improve a lot.
Yeah.
So let's see.
All right. So let's keep it moving because there's still half the league to go. And all right. I have the Capitals. I'm a believer. I just respect it by the end of the season. I keep saying that. I might be overrating it. I just like that they went after some things. I like the trade for Chikrin. I like some of the signings. I like that they're building on last year. I am a fan of their coach. I think he's a young coach, but a very smart guy. I like that what he did is bring in to play defense and got the most out of Strom, and it made the Ovechkin thing not look completely ridiculous. A lot of people were mocking it early on. Oh, this team not going to score or whatever. They have really strong goaltending, good defense. They play for checking style. They're very physical, and I just think that they have like the right system. I think that they won't be able to bounce back until Ovechkin's gone, until some of the other guys are gone to Yoshi, and all those old guys are gone. But I like what they're doing in the meantime. And so yeah, I'm just going to give them the props and have them in right at the last playoff spot.
Yeah, they made some good moves. They were solid on defense last year, goaltending. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, 15th. My surprise pick is Utah, man. I have them in the playoffs, 15th overall. They have a really young, talented team. They made some good moves. They always got money to spend. Um, I've heard a few pundits say that Utah's like the sleepy team this year that will surprise everybody. I think they will, and maybe we're all wrong, but I think they have the potential to be a surprise team. Probably go out in the first round of the playoffs, but I don't know. I like the Utah Hockey Club.
Yeah, they need to make some moves. They're probably 3 or 4 years from being a real contender, maybe sooner. They have a lot of pieces and can make a lot of trades. So let's see.
Yeah, they got new Bustad on the third line. That's how deep they are. And then they have Kerfoot there. They have McBain, and they just signed Kevin Stanley. So big fan. And then Lowen Cooley and Schmaltz and Clayton Keller.
I take it back. They're gonna finish like 26.
A Swedish monster. And then Sean Dorsey, they got Sergachev in that trade, bro. They got Marino, and I'm telling you, Ian Cole, a veteran for the bottom pair. Sleepy team, bro. This team's gonna surprise people. All right. 14th. Lightning, man. They make it in. I told you last time, hot take, that we're going to miss the playoffs. I take it back. It's hard in the East to have them below some of these other teams when you break down the whole league. But I had them right in the wild card spot. I think that they just lack the depth. I told you last time. They're getting older. The Stamkos thing, I think it's overrated or whatever. I just don't think that, you're gonna get now with this new kind of retool roster. Anything good. I think letting go Sergachev was a mistake. I think bringing McDonough back is a mistake. They're kind of like in win now mode without having the team to do it, in my opinion. I'm just not sold on anything right now. I think they're going to continue to trend down, and Hedman's getting old, man, and that is getting overlooked. Too much pressure on Vasi.
Yeah, I think they have to be in win now mode because of Vasilevsky and just some of the signings they made with Gensel. But yeah, that's a tricky one. I'm not sure where I would place them. I don't know if I'll place them this low, but it's hard to make a case for them being top 10.
Yeah, so I have them 14. 13th, and no, this is a hater pick, the Predators. The most overrated moves of the offseason. I think they're older. I think they're poor on defense. I think that they're going to make it into the playoffs because they do have enough veterans to be there. I think some people are power ranking them in the top 5 or 10, thinking of them as like a legit contender. They still got Nyquist and Forsberg with O'Reilly on the top line, Stamkos and Marchessault. I just think that they're older. I think, they don't need to win. They've already won. Luke Evangelista is a really good, talented young guy, but the forward court is fine, and I think Shea and Josie are like good, but I don't know. I'm just not sold. I think again, Chen's old, Roman Josie's old. I just don't. I don't buy it.
They need a power play to hit with Stamkos. Like they need certain things to hit in order for them to be really successful, especially in the playoffs. And at least in the playoffs, I don't see them getting to the finals at all. But they signed Marchessault and Stamkos and
but they're older, man, and people forget that these older teams start to trend down because they just don't have the depth. Back in the day when you had older teams, you have more depth. But Ryan O'Reilly's going to be 34 this year. I think Marshall's going to be 34.
Yeah,
Stamkos is going to
Nyquist
be
is also
36.
old. Yeah.
Nyquist is old. Roman Jones is 34. I think we're going to be 34. Luke Shan is old. Like, it's an old team. Like, it just straight up is. So anyway, we'll see. But I'm not as high on them as other people.
Yeah.
So 13th for me. All right, 12. Another team that I'm not as high as other people. Maybe my surprise pick is the Devils at 12. They have talent.
Really? Wow.
They got talent, but like, I mean, I am, this is where we get to be haters.
Shocking
Like,
pick.
I'm like with you, like over the whole Jack Hughes thing. Again, Hughes, Meyer, Mercer, like these guys are offense first. They're not going to be great defensively. Thomas Tatar in the third line doesn't defend at all. Even into the fourth line, you have Curtis Lazard and Bastian. Like, and then Siegenthaler, Hamilton, Luke Hughes. Pesci was a good addition. I know Nemec, a lot of people are high on, but I just don't think that they're going to defend as well as people think. And I know that they have Jake Allen and Markstrom, or I guess the other way around, which sounds good on paper. I think both of those guys are actually pretty inconsistent when they don't have a really legit defensive core in front. And I think the Devils, given the run and gun style, are going to give up a lot. And Markstrom is at his worst when he's got like breaks, 3-on-2s coming his way. He goes out of the net. He does wild shit. Jake Allen also can can give you an excellent game and then allow 3 softies the next game. We saw it last year. I don't know that I'm as high on them. Again, I have them in the playoffs. I don't have them as a wild card, but I don't have them as high as other people do.
Yeah, my prediction is they'll be top 8 in the league in points, because they do have the offense, and I do think Keefe can get the most out of those young guys and a lot of that defense. But I see them just straight up,
And I'm rooting for Keefe, but the Devils just got to show me something again. I'm not.
Yeah.
I've said that about a couple of the teams.
Yeah, they're not gonna make it in the playoff. I mean, past the first round. Oh, it depends on the matchup. Maybe they get a wild card team if they somehow win the division, which is possible.
All right. And the next 11th, I have the Toronto Maple Leafs. Just outside of the top 10.
No way.
I mean, last year they were kind of 9th or 10th, so I don't feel like that's disrespectful.
Oh man,
I think the top guys are going to carry them. I think they're going to finish
top
in the playoffs.
3 at least.
Well, listen, you cannot say that because you said they were going to be a wild card team. That was right. So you had them way down. You had them like if they're a wild card team, they'll be in the 16 to 14 range.
The lightning ahead of them.
Yeah, you had them. Yeah. So you had it. I mean, that might still happen, but I have them high. I think the top guys will continue to carry them. But they just lack the lack of depth. No third line center, no legit third left wingers that you can really rely, even with Nice. There's this question of like, do you bring the young guys with Cowan or do you try to go after vets? The defense is thinner than people think. It's a little bit older. If there's an injury or two there, they get thin real quick. I don't know that Hakanpää is even going to play. So not a lot of guys left in free agency. So yeah, I think Toronto is okay, but again, 11th I don't think is disrespectful. It's kind of where I think some people had them slotted higher because of their top end talent. Marner Schwartz are going to go off this year to get a contract, but I just don't buy it. Yeah,
my big question marks are for the season are Nice and Wool. Those are the 2 question marks for me. I think especially Nice needs to take a step forward if the team really wants to contend for the division. And yeah, they'll make it into the playoffs. They were very inconsistent last year, very, very inconsistent. So if they are just a little bit more consistent this year, they'll be top 3 in the division as expected. But for me, come playoff time, it's just a matter of can those guys really step up, because we know that there's only so much that Nylander, Marner, and Matthews are going to give you.
Yeah.
Other than points. So
yeah. 11th I think is somewhat fair. All right, 10th I have a team that this is the top tier version of the Kings for the lower tier versions of being generous. I think the Golden Knights. I think they got younger, but also worse when you look at the roster. And so for me, Vegas is a team that will compete. But you have Olofsson, Eichel, Barbashev, Hurdle, Stone. Is it going to be Dorofeev or whatever? Is it going to be William Carson? Like, who's going to make your top 6? Your fourth line is pretty good, but like I do think that the team's starting to become a little bit like okay, good, solid. But if you have an injury here, an injury there, all of a sudden you just don't feel as deep talent wise. Petrangelo's getting older. Shea Theodore. The defensive core is why I still have them as like a legit playoff team with Hannafin, Petrangelo, Theodore, McNabb, Haig, and Whitecloud. That's pretty good. One of the best defensive cores in the league, I guess you could say. But I don't know. The roster construction, some of the guys they've lost some of personality. I don't know. 10th, I think is okay. I don't have them higher than that.
Yeah, they're top 10 for sure. Should be a little bit better than last season. They got off to a really good start, and then they just went down. Again, goaltending is a bit of a question mark. I know Aiden Hill is still young, and he's been really good. But that's one of those guys that can disappear, and then you have Samsonov there. So who knows what's going to happen with that. Yeah, a good team on paper.
Yeah. 9th, and this team, a lot of people had ranked higher last year, but I think their player performance just dropped them for me. Is the Jets. It's a solid style, solid roster, defensive. They can win games, they can compete, but they pooped the bed again in the playoffs. They didn't even really compete against the Avalanche. I got to see something from them. I think that they're still a good regular season team, and I think that they get overlooked and underrated by a lot of people. But I have the Jets in 9th. I just think they got to do better.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, last season they were like a top 3-4 team at one point in the league.
Yeah, they were top 2 on defense, goals against, all that good stuff. They have the right, they have good goaltending, great goaltending, and really good defense. They had a good system. They have a new coach, right, Arneal?
Yeah.
Who a lot of people say is a piece of shit asshole. So let's see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean that's a team that could trend down, but right now preseason power rankings, I have them 9th. 8th, the Rangers. Power play dependent. I'm not sold on the Riley Smith thing. Getting older, Jacob Trouba drama. So Sturking carries a lot of their stuff up for them. Yeah, I just, that's still pretty high, but I don't think that they're like a top 3 or 5 team in the league. I think that anybody who thinks that is kidding themselves, in my opinion.
Yeah, no. If they show any inconsistency on the power play, they'll drop quickly. But then again, the Metro it's kind of crap, honestly.
I know, and that's why they get overrated. Once you get against the real teams, it gets harder. All right, 7th, I have the Bruins. I just, people always put them down. People always think that they're not as good, blah, 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 all this stuff. Listen, they have like probably the best defensive system in the league. They have Insueman, who I think is an underrated goalie. People are like, oh, he's a top 10 goalie. He could become it. Like, I think he's top 3 in the league. I know we need to see more in the regular season. Position-wise, talent-wise, this dude is amazing. What he did to the Panthers was more impressive than any goalie we face. The dude is incredible, and they have a strong defensive system. And I really like, I know most people don't, but Zadorov and Lindholm, I think great additions to the team. I think they needed a center, and they got it. I think they needed another top 4 defenseman who can hit. They got it. I think the Bruins are going to surprise people again and be in the mix of it, trying to compete for the division. So.
Yeah, they lost to Brusque.
But the Brusque in the regular season,
not having Olmark as a backup might hurt them a little bit. I think they'll drop from where they were last year. I don't think they'll be like top of the division the whole year, but they'll be top 3. Should be top 3.
Yeah, so that's kind of when I have them at 7th. All right, number 6, I have the Canucks. Deep roster, really good goaltending. I think depending on who you ask, some people say the Canucks were a mirage and are going to fully flip
I don't
again.
think so. They have a really good team.
I don't think they are, and I think Tuckett has done a good job. But he's, talk about a guy who proved me wrong. I thought he was going to be a mess, and I'm still not a fan of his personality and some of the stuff he says and how he throws people under the bus.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward.
Thinks too highly of himself, but he's also shown that he can be very supportive to the players and push them. He's probably learned and mature maybe with time to how to work with younger players. He got the best out of JT Miller, the best out of Brock Besser. He's got to get the last person to actually play in the playoffs. PD's got a forecheck. Don't become Hubido, bro. But yeah, I think that they're a legit team, and they took the Oilers to 7, man. And if not for Besser and the goalie being out, they might have won.
Yeah, they got the Brusque. JT Miller's a really good player. I like him. Pedersen's a really good, regular season guy. Brock Besser. They're pretty deep.
They might have the deepest team in the league. Like no
Yeah,
joke, bro.
I don't think it's a mirage at all. Their defense is really good. Um, yeah, yeah, they're good.
All right. So next I have number 5. You're not gonna like this pick. The Florida Panthers at number 5.
Oh hell no way, man,
Yeah.
bro, that's it. Podcast
I
is
told you
over.
we keep it real on this channel. At least I do, because you're a fake fan, but a fake
Yeah.
hockey
Oh
fan.
my god, bro. Wow,
Listen,
you
I
have the
think,
Oilers ahead of the
of
Panthers.
course. So this is power rankings going into next season, bro. This is not looking back.
Oh my
All
god.
right. So here's my quick pitch.
Explain yourself.
Yeah, I think that it's natural for after the back-to-back runs for the team to just play more loose in the regular season, for guys to take care of themselves a little bit more. I think it's even normal for Maurice to start to think about developing certain players versus just trying to win now. They're going to try, but I think that you have a lot of question marks, bro. Montour is a big loss. Boquist is a big question. Even both Boquist brothers are question. You lost Lumber and Cousins, who were big locker room presence. Stanlin, legit penalty killer, one of the best in the league last year. And yeah, you brought Nosek. I'm not saying that Cito didn't make any moves. I'm excited. You have Mackey, you have Sordiff, you have youth coming in. Is Mac Manning going to compete? What is Uvis Valinskis going to look like? But Uvis Valinskis is just seventh guy, man. Like that. Let's be real. Ned Schmidt is not as good on offense as OEL. Maybe better defensively, but he's not. Boquist is not going to give you the physicality that Montour brought. If you get a couple injuries on defense, the Panthers get kind of thin on defense, like they just do. And Ekblad, it's a contract year, but he's always injured. The top 9 is good. I just, Bob is getting older, and I just don't see the guys playing as hard defense in front of him every single night. And I think that in the playoffs, they're probably going to go out in the second round, maybe get to a conference finals if they fight really hard. I just don't see it this year. I'm not down on them long term. I think this is a transition year. So, and I think it's fair to say, based on their losses and the guys that they could bring in, 5th in the league, top 5, that's legit. You're elite. Top 5 teams in the league are the elite teams.
Yeah. There's still a great team. I just think that putting them behind some of the teams you're gonna now mention, just based on your prediction of what effort they're gonna give, it's a little.
It's not just effort; it's makeup, bro. You're
Listen,
gonna tell me. You're gonna tell me it's not.
I'm speaking right now. You said what you had to say. You're basically saying, well, Barkov might just want to like score 50 goals. Like, no, I think top 5 is correct for them. I would still have them top 2, maybe top 3. I wouldn't put the Oilers ahead of them, but I guess you'll get into that next. So,
yeah, man. Anyway, I'm just trying to be real. I think the Panthers number 5 is fair. Number 4, the Avalanche. I think they're hungry. I think if they lose again, they're gonna have to really look in the mirror. I think that obviously they probably have the best top end talent in the league in terms of the top 2 lines and Makar. And I think that they're gonna be, after 2 years of really falling short and having injury issues and then the Shushkin drama, and I think they're gonna get it right. I think they're gonna bounce back. I think they're gonna make some moves in the deadline, try to get deeper. And yeah, I think that I don't know if they're going to win another cup, to be honest, unless they make some more drastic style changes. I think they focus too much on offense. I think the goaltending is a question. Is Georgiev the guy? But I just see them I have 2 teams in my top 4 that I just think it's more based on they're still really good. They're well coached. They know their identity. They've won to some extent, and I think that this is a team that I think Avalanche, I think Colorado knows they're probably going to have to fire their coach if they fall short again this year. They're going to have to make some changes. I think the team's going to come out and legit. And this is power rankings, projections. I think, to me, I have them 4th.
Yeah, they're players. They play hard. McKinnon is a really good leader. They play the world's depending on them to play and score. It's one of those teams that you watch them and it just looks like they're playing really hard. But, I don't know if they're really together as a team, and they've kind of been the same the last few years. And yeah, I expect them to be right up there. And I agree that if they don't get their shit together, they're gonna have to make a few changes, starting with the coach.
All right. Number three, I have the Oilers. I know some people have them at number one or two. I have them there because yes, they're a little bit deeper, but I think not as deep as people think. They still got to let some people go. They have some cap issues. I think their goaltending is a question mark. I don't know if Skinner has proven that he's the guy long term, year over year. The defense is still not great in terms of defensive metrics. I think that they still have a lot of holes. A lot of guys overpaid. They're gonna have to pay Bouchard going forward again, not this year. But I just think that top three is fair. I think we overlooked their start last year, how bad it was, and how they were able to bounce back and all that. And got hot, but they also came close to losing to Vancouver. They came close to losing to Dallas. That game 6 they should have lost. I mean, they got completely dominated at home. I think we might be overrating them. I think Skinner is not a great addition. I think he defends. He's going to give them goals, but he's not a playoff proven guy at all. He hasn't even played a playoff game. And yeah, they're going to have to lose some. They lost McLeod. They're going to have to lose some of the bottom 6 guys. So yeah, I just think that we're overlooking because of how like flashy and fun it looked. And Knobloch, is he the real coach long term? He's there to appease McDavid, whatever. He's kind of cerebral, but I don't know. I don't think he's a great leader. I just think that we might be overrating the Oilers just a little bit. So third, I think, is still showing respect, but I don't think they're top 2.
No, I don't think they're top 2. I would have them around 7 or 8, just because of McDavid and Draisaitl and what they're able to do during the season. They have a few questions, starting with the goaltending more than anything. I don't know if Skinner's gonna be able to carry you that long. He is young. I don't know why I always thought that Skinner was like old, but he's a very young goaltender. So maybe he'll keep improving with the experience he had last year in the playoffs. He did really well in the playoffs until the finals. Yeah, but there's just too many question marks, and you still have Nurse.
Yeah. And real quick, like before people come on after me, how we have ahead of the Panthers who won the cup or whatever. Like it's based on rules, based on the off season. I like Arvidsson. I think he's a great addition. I think Holloway is a young player that's going to continue to develop. I like Henrique as a third line center. I think that's excellent. So yeah, the top 6 is legit. The third line is good. And then they have Janmark and Derek Ryan and Connor Brown, fourth line. Pretty good. And so
just take off that hat. You have an Oilers hat in there?
Jesus. Keeping it real, guys. All right. Because my brother is a homer.
Keeping it real.
Keeping it real. All right, number 2, Hurricanes. And this is a surprise pick. I think that everybody's down on the Hurricanes. I think people think, oh my God, they lost a lot of people. They just extended Natchez. They're going to sign Jarvis.
Wow.
They are going to bounce back. Brendan Moore got an extension finally after all the drama. I think he's going to get the most out of this team. I think that they are fighters. Aho is more veteran now. Jarvis is still very young and developing. Natchez is young. Kokeniemi is good. Svechnikov injured, but when not, he's a top 30, 40 goal scorer. Added Roslovich for some scoring in the back end. William Carrier, like some underrated guys on the team. They still got Slavin and Burns. Orlov is still there, and then they added Sean Walker and Gostisbehere, and I think Chatfield is going to continue to break out after the contract he got. He's a really good guy. I think some teams wanted him for the top 4. And yeah, goaltending kind of a question, but if Anderson could be healthy, and then Kochekov, man, Kuchi, as they say, if he can develop and finally take over. I think they're going to bounce back. I think they kind of had a down year last year. I think they're going to bounce back. I think getting rid of Gensel, getting rid of the drama, getting rid of all that stuff, losing some of these defenders who wanted more money, I think they're going to surprise people. I think they're going to fight. They're kind of like the Bruins. They don't die. I have the Hurricanes high, number 2.
Yeah, no, they're a really good team. This should always be top 5 as long as Brendan Moore and some of the guys are there. Their defense is really solid. Their system, kind of like the Bruins, it's very solid. They're not gonna lose games in the playoffs, that badly. And Kochekov, if he keeps improving, they're gonna be tough for anybody.
Yeah, and they should have beaten the Rangers. They outplayed them. They could have given the Panthers a good fight. Like, I just think that we are down on the Hurricanes because of last year, but I think that's a mirage the other way. And then number 1, I have the Stars, man. I just think that the young guys are going to continue to develop with more experience. They have depth. I looked at the additions, Lyubushkin for some physicality. Dumba is going to play on the bottom pair, which is actually where he belongs, and he can kind of carry the puck for them there. They have a good core, good balance still between veterans and and young guys. And I think that the losses the last couple of years is really going to bring the best out in them. And then Oettinger is a legit goalie. So yeah, I just think the Stars to me are the team to beat. And again, they should have pushed the 7 against the Oilers. What they did against Vegas was impressive after being down 2-0 at home and having to go on the road. I just think that they're trending up. So yeah, that would be a team that would win a cup in the next 2 to 3 years, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and they have a good coach. They have the right coach, I think, as well.
The board deserves a cup. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
it's
so
the next Maurice.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that. But yeah. Other than the Oilers and maybe a couple of teams here and there, and it's so hard to do these lists anyway. Going, especially when you're going by what's to come, because who knows?
Yeah, I didn't do it based on last season where it ended or who's going to win it all. These are not predictions. This is just more like looking at the off season, looking where they are now, and looking at what was kind of a down year, was kind of an up year last year. Where are they trending? And then also bias and feel, like whatever I like or don't like. I value like defense more than offense. I value playoff success more than not. That's going to inform my picks. But the age of the players, to some extent the coaching. So
yeah, for sure. All right, well, that's the end of the list, man.
Normal show, like, trying to break down shit, give you a list. Next time, like my brother said, we might do, I want to talk about playoff success and what teams get wrong about playoff success and, like line construction and all that stuff, because it'd be interesting. And I think we could do the next video on that and talk about the Alex Nylander signing as part of the context for that, and what the changes for the Panthers into the season with the young guys, and why I'm a little bit down on them. So yeah, we can talk about playoffs.
All right. Anything else you want to say?
Pretty long. If you're stuck around for this, you're probably bored. Let us, at least if you got this far, like, let us know in the comments who, what teams you agree with.
Yeah, or if you're a fan of whatever team, tell us where that team should have been ranked.
Yeah, educate us about your teams. We love to learn,
because we don't know enough, about all these teams, the Islanders, etc., to really get into it and understand. It's impossible to watch all 32 teams the entire season, but we do watch a lot of other teams. Even when the Panthers are not playing, we'll watch some of the games that night. So yeah, leave us your opinions and all that good stuff.